If you want to be a published author, whether online or hard copy, it's not just a wishful thinking that will come to pass whenever it wants to come to pass. The necessary tools you must have in your arsenal to regard yourself as someone who actually wants to become a published author. So in today's Life of a Gem video, we delve into let's talk storytelling as I show you necessary tools you have to have before becoming a published author. Welcome to today's Life of a Gem video. Storytelling is the main thing I do in the art world, and I started a series called Let's Talk Storytelling. And now we're delving into Life of a Gem, which is basically my life as I progress on the journey of becoming a well-known author, a well-known writer, a well-known speaker all over the world. Why don't I bring you on this journey with me as we also bring along the Let's Talk Storytelling series, merging both together. Long time no Let's Talk Storytelling, my fault, but we are back. Intermittently we'll be sliding these into the Life of a Gem series dropping on Tuesdays, so subscribe so you'll be kept abreast with these developments. The first necessary tool you need to become a published author is to actually be able to write. Ensure that you have practiced your craft. Ensure that you have honed your skill. Ensure that what you write is not just something you will keep in your little journal that you wouldn't want anybody else to read. Half good is not good enough. I remember one day I was in a good mood. I was having a birthday party that I threw for myself, invited some church folks, and I wanted to read one of my stories. I read it out, and in my head I did good. And then one day my pastor had to tell me, "You're a good writer, but you still need to cook it up more." This was years ago, and I still remember that. That's to tell you that you can't just believe that because you have the passion, then I'm going to be a published author tomorrow. That's not just what it takes. It takes actually being able to write. Do you know how to write? And if you do not know how to write as a natural talent, like people believe all great writers just have the natural talent of writing, I beg to differ. But the point is, even if you think you do not know how to write but you want to be a published author, have you learned the art of storytelling? Do you know how to use your grammar? Are your spellings correct most times? Use of imagery, you have to master it all. You have to know how to tell your story. You have to know the style you want to use in telling so and so story. You must be able to write. It's not just a wish by and by, like I already said in the introduction. You must actually be able to write. So if you have the dream of becoming a published author, please start picking up that skill you think you have or that dream you think you have and start doing the work that it requires. You must actually be able to write. Whether you were born a writer or you are trying to develop yourself into a writer, you have to do the work of actually being able to write. The second necessary tool that you will need to become a published author is to research calls for submissions. And this is so easy nowadays with social media. You can just go on your Google, magazines accepting submission this month or this winter or this summer. You will see a whole lot of them. You can now find one that your work is tailored to. Let's say you are writing speculative fiction and this magazine says they want something in romance. You know that you are not submitting that speculative fiction piece of work there. It will not get picked. So you have to research, okay, what are some magazines that are accepting romance or coming of age stories? Then you submit to those. There are so many magazines that publish online, and I will tell you for free, start with being published online. That's how I started. Just said, oh, I saw this publication, I want to send in, and that's how I started sending in publications. And it's been so many years now, and if you type my name online, things will come out because I had researched this submission calls and I actually went ahead to submit for them. So even though I may not have a hard copy book with my name written on it, the digital space is forever. The social media space is forever. The internet space is forever. You type my name, my full name, things come out. Or the alias I used to go by in those days when I used to write, it's there. The works are there. They're there under my name. It can never be stolen. It can never be erased. So research submission calls and submit to them. Remember, your work has to be tailored to the submission call. So what they want is what you should give them. It gives you a higher chance of being picked. Sometimes they just go ahead and just, okay, let's just pick something that is not in the theme for the submission call, but not all the time. So to be on the safer side, pick a submission call that is close to what you have written or close to what you want to submit. Okay, the third thing you should take note of as a necessary tool is to submit your work in the format that you have been given in the submission call. So you want to be a published author, you don't just say, okay, because I like this font, it looks good on paper, it looks good on my laptop, that's how I'm submitting. Your work may not get picked because you are not obeying what the editor wants you to do before they even start editing. Some of them, because of the kind of gadgets they use, they want you to use a particular font, so when they see it, it's easier to read on the eyes. It's not easy reading with soft copy on laptops and all, so they want particular fonts, particular sizes of letters, particular ways of arrangement of those letters, so that it's easier on the eyes. I believe that's one of the major reasons. It helps them to go through the thing you have submitted fast, and they have so many submissions, so that's why you have to be particular. What did they say in the format? Did they say Times Roman? Did they say font 12? Did they say you should indent your paragraphs or you should not indent your paragraphs? Take note. Did they say you should add a title page? Take note of all those things, because that is one of the major reasons why your work will not get picked amongst the many submissions. You did not follow the rules. And the world, I'm sorry to say, for those of you who don't like rules, who don't like following rules, there are so many rules. You just have to align yourself sometimes, at least while climbing your way up to the top. So take note of the format. So in the format, we have fonts, the size, the word count, line spacing, the content of title page. On the title page, they can tell you, you just put your name and put your email address. Or on the title page, they can tell you, do not put your name anywhere on this document. If you don't read all those instructions and you go and put your name on the document, it's gone. They don't pick you anymore, because why they do most of that is so people who are not biased in their picking. For example, they may have seen my name somewhere, Ganaba, just be like, oh, this girl can write, let's just give it to her. No. So some of them, they don't want you to put your name there, so there will not be that bias or sentiment in any way. They don't know who you are. Just write, put your title on the title page and submit. But if you go and do the opposite, put your name somewhere, are you trying to be smarter than the people that say you should do the thing? So take notes of the correct format in which your work should be presented. The fifth necessary tool you will need as you get ready to be published is to get a cover letter ready. Your cover letter is very important. I don't think there is any submission, well, some of them, but most submissions will ask you for a cover letter. And cover letter, you can just have it somewhere, you copy and paste, or you can have it in your head. I always have it in my head, so I know I've written it somewhere in my WPS, but to go look for it, is cover letter is not that hard. It's very simple, so that's why I just write in 4 lines. I'm done. Let me read the usual cover letter that I always use, and it's supposed to be short and concise, and it's supposed to comprise of just necessary things. So listen to how my cover letter always goes. If you look for any submission I've submitted, and of course when they're posting the submissions, they're not going to put your cover letter, okay, but for any submission I've had, I can go through my emails now. Most of it is the same format I use, simple, short. Dear editor, okay, because it's the editor editing your work. You don't know his name, you don't know her name. Dear editor, submitted for your consideration is my so word count. So for example, you are writing 5,000 words, okay, or the submission said you should write 5,000 words, but you wrote 4,500 words. So submitted for your consideration is my 4,500 word count fiction. Okay, I usually write fiction, so if it's an essay, 4,500 word count essay, titled, and remember your punctuations. So titled, comma, then you can put in italics, or you put in quotation marks your title. I like to just put in quotation marks because sometimes you don't have the option to select the title and then find a format that says italics. Most times on the submission page you don't have that, so I just put it in quotation marks. But we know from studying English in school that it is title of poems you put in quotation marks, and then for title of books you use italics, but for submission pages you may not have that. Submitted for your consideration is my 4,500 word count story or fiction or essay or personal essay, titled, remember your punctuations, you write your title. Okay, then I just go to the next line. So it's like going to another paragraph, and I say it has never been published before, because the editors want to know what stake they have with your work. Is it a work that has been published before? Some submissions, they allow you to publish what you have published before. They say, oh yeah, we allow dual submissions. Or they say you can submit if this has been submitted elsewhere, during the same period, or let us know if your work is selected elsewhere, so we don't take your work anymore. But sometimes you're lucky and one work that you've already submitted and even has been published, they want to republish. So that also works. So let them know. Has it been published? Has it not been published? If it has not been published, as I'll advise you to always submit, if the instruction they give says do not submit work that has been published, follow that. So you tell them it has never been published anywhere. That's still giving the editor reassurance. And I always add, and I hope it finds a home with you. It doesn't mean it will find a home with them. There are countless and countless of submissions I've submitted. It does not mean that it will find a home with them. And that's where I would also like to chip in, that your cover letter is not where you are trying to impose yourself on the editor or impose yourself on whoever is in the selection process and trying to make sure that they choose your work. How? By telling them how good your work is, how marvelous. It is not your place. It is their place to read what you have submitted and then decide if it's actually as good as you think it is. Haven't you all watched those Nigerian Idol auditions or X Factor auditions or whatever? And people come in there so confidently saying, oh, they will be the X Factor, and then when they open their mouths, it's like, are you joking? Do you think you came here to play? Because they've told themselves that these big things, maybe their family too trying to support them, they've told them, oh my God, you're going to the moon, but they can't even sing a single note. But they've already convinced the judges, even before they started singing, that I'll be the X Factor, I'll blow your minds. But when they opened their mouths, what they actually did was to blow everybody away with the rubbish they sang. So it's the same thing boils down to this. Let them be the deciding factor of how good your work is. Just start saying, the editor, my work is perfect, you should choose it, because that is not the place for a cover letter. Remember, it has to be short, concise, necessary things. That's all. So after I say, hope it finds a home with you, I usually just say thank you in advance. So thank you in advance for the work they are putting in. Not thank you in advance for choosing me. No, for the work they will put in reading my work and in the selection process. So I just do thank you in advance and best regards. Period. Short, concise. Dear editor, submitted for your consideration is my 4,500 word count story or 4,500 word fiction titled blah 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 blah. It has never been published anywhere, and I hope it finds a home with you. Thank you in advance for your time. Best regards. C'est fini. You're done. You have done your part. Now leave the editors to do their part. Remember, it is not your job to convince them that your work is the best thing after fish and bread. No. It is not your duty, and that will actually infuriate them if you try to come off as that while they are reading your letter. It gives that tone of, trying to impose yourself on them. That's one easy way to get your work flung out of their system, out of their need to read list. Number 6 tool that you need is to understand what you wrote enough to dissect it if needed. Understand what you wrote that you are submitting enough to dissect it if needed, and this includes requests for content summary, pitch letters, character or thematic analysis, or whatever. When you understand what you wrote, you understand the story. The story is your own. Nobody was there. Sometimes you write things, people don't even understand it the way you felt it when you wrote it. So in that pitch letter they may ask for, or in content or character summary or analysis, that's where you break your thought process down. So part of that is it helps them to know, okay, does this really fit into what we are trying to, the theme we want this year? So if you're talking about, for example, masquerades, and you are using analogies, you're using imageries that will start making people think deeper than just the physical display of masquerades. So people may not have thought about it in that way, and it may not relate to what they want in their theme on a surface level, because a writer is the one that knows what they wrote and the frame of mind they were in at that time. They are trying to convey and relate the frame of mind they were in, but sometimes you may not do a good job as you thought you did. But breaking it down in your content analysis or your character analysis or your thematic summary or thematic analysis helps them realize, oh, okay, I didn't see this before. For example, I remember when we were reading Popo Hibiscus in university, I remember I had read that before I even entered school. But it's in class that I first heard that Kambili and Jaja's home situation, the tyrant situation, the violent situation, was like a small mirror into the bigger picture of the situation of Nigeria at that time. Reading it at 13, 14, I didn't make that correlation in my head. I didn't think of it that way. But in class, new understanding, new knowledge, breaking it down, studying English and studying those books, you have to break everything down. So breaking it down, I read, oh, okay. Oh yeah, that's true. Kambili and Jaja's house and their tyranny situation under their father is like a picture of the situation of Nigeria at that time under the military rule. It gives them a picture of what you are talking about in greater detail that may not be obvious to the eye. And sometimes they see what you're talking about from your story already or from your essay, but they just want to know, are you really sure? Can you really break this thing down? Can you really defend this thing? And sometimes that even informs the editing process. So, okay, this thing that you were trying to say, maybe you could have said it better. So when the editor is sending back your work for review, they will say, why don't you chip in this, or why don't you correct this based on the breakdown you already did when they asked for a pitch letter or a content summary or a thematic and character analysis. I had not written a pitch letter until this year, and I've been submitting works for years. It was until this year that I had one submission opportunity that had me writing a pitch letter, which I had never written before. So why am I saying this? Sometimes you don't know what all these things are, but Google is your friend. So I had to look up what is a pitch letter, but fair to them, they actually also told me what should be in my pitch letter. It was a whole thing. I had to write breakdown of the work, I had to write comparison of the work to other works. It was a whole thing. So Google what a pitch letter is. If they ask you to add a pitch letter, don't say, I'm tired, I've done the work, leave me alone. Your work will likely not get picked, because again, it's part of the instruction. If they say add a character analysis thingy to your work, if they say add a pitch letter, just do it. Google what it is, take your time. The same way you took your time to write the work, all these things that have to be submitted along with the work, they are just as important as the work. So do the work, do not shy away from it. Remember your first point. Number 7 is one that is very dear to my heart, and it is one that people go against so much that it so annoys me. It annoys the living daylight out of me, to the point that even up till this week I still ranted about this to somebody. Number 7 points, necessary tool for becoming a published author in the nearest future. Soon, if you want it to be as soon as this year, it can happen, whether online or hard copy. A published author is a published author. Okay, professional photos. Writers or soon to be writers, authors or soon to be published authors, a professional photo. You cannot be a writer that I hope wants to have national and international acclaim. I hope you don't want to remain a local champion. You just write things on Facebook and posts, or just write things on WhatsApp, up and grateful, form stories around up and grateful, or form stories around steez and composure, or form talk around demure and cutesy. I hope that is not just the writer you want to be. If you want to be a writer, an author, doing your part and hoping that God does his part to make you well known, how don't you have a professional photo? How? Now, I don't want to start sounding a kind of way, but I see pictures of submissions and people use their phones in such a bad background, or with them just lounging in a careless way. You know, those kind of pictures you just take when you think you've done your eyebrow well, or you just take because you think, okay, let me just send this to my friend to see the cap I just bought. People are using those kind of pictures as as pictures. I want to use a Nigerian expression, as follow come with their submissions. And you want to be a published author of renowned excellence, you want to be a published author of repute, you do not have a professional photo. I know, before you come for me, I know not everybody can afford it, but you can save towards it, and there are affordable photographers around you. Save money. It is part of it. I don't even understand. Something that is part of your future, you cannot say you don't have money. You don't have money from January to December to save towards something that is part of your future, something that will give you that money later in life if you do it well, if you do your part. Save money. If it is $1, if it is 100 naira, save money. Look for an affordable photographer that knows his onions and go and take your pictures. This you do in front of your mirror is not the picture you have to submit with that publication. Some of you, they've even selected your work. This one is not just, okay, they said send the picture with the submission. For some of you, they've read your work, editor has read your work, and they have received and said they want to publish it in a magazine. And in that magazine, when we open the magazine, whether online or hard copy, we see you. The photo that is there of you is a photo where, you get my point. You see the way my temperature is rising. You see it. That's to tell you how annoyed. That's it. It irks me so much, because it just feels like you're not taking this thing seriously. You say you want to be great, but it's like you are not really sure. Great in what sense? Is it small great or like big great? Because my lighting is trying to catch the natural light, so let me increase the brightness. Back to my rant. What kind of great do you want to be actually? What kind of significant greats do you want to attain? Because it's not giving greatness. Those pictures that we see in those magazines with your name your full government name, that is the picture you saw to put a magazine that will go around the world if it's online. That is the picture where you're just like this, what are we eating this night? That is the picture. Let us do better. That is a necessary tool. I would have put it in number 1, but it feels like a vanity kind of thing. That's why I didn't put it in number 1. Professionally get your pictures taken. You see the way people put their best A game on LinkedIn and all these profiles. You see the way they fold their arms, and no, don't fold their arms like that if you don't want to, but you get my point. It's giving seriousness. It's giving, I know this thing is serious to me. But these pictures we see with these publications, they are not giving serious. I don't know if nobody has told some people. They are not giving serious. They are not giving, this is what I want to use my life to do. They are not giving it. They are not giving it at all. So let us change that. Save money, get an affordable photographer, and get your pictures professionally taken. Camera, lighting, good poses, good clothes, because you are going to go around the world. So behave. Take a picture that looks like you actually want to go around the world. My 2 cents. Number 8 and final thing, necessary tool you need to become a published author in the nearest future, this year, next year, whenever you want, is to have a short biography. A very, very short, simple, but all-encompassing biography. What should be in your biography? I always recommend writing in third person. So how I write my Aganaba Jesulibami Jemaima is a writer from Bayelsa, Nigeria. Again, this you can just have it typed and kept in your documents folder, in your WPS. That's what I have. I just, once it's time to do biography, that's one of the easiest things for me. I just go there, copy and paste into whatever box they've given for biography. Biography boxes that they give to you are usually very short. That is to tell you, don't go and be saying the story of your life. Keep it short, keep it simple, keep it fun, but still stick to the point of why we are here. Like I already said, Aganaba Jesulibami is a writer from Bayelsa, Nigeria. That's a detail I want people to know about me up front. upfront. It's always she's a Bayelsa from Nigeria. Then you can add where you schooled. I do that also. She studied English and Literary Studies in Niger Delta University. Okay, so that's a little background about you. It's important because it's important to your future where you studied or what you are studying now. It's important to your future. It adds context to every piece of writing you write, because no man is an island. Every writer writes from the wealth of knowledge they have, or they've experienced, or they've heard people experience, and all of that. So all these background details, they're important. Keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it simple. She studied English and Literary Studies at the Niger Delta University, Wilberforce Island. I also like to add my background in writing or my publishing repertoire. I like to share where I've been published. Again, that gives context. So for my biography, I write that I've been published by Kalahari. I've been published in 2 anthologies, or is it 3 now or 4? I'm bad in keeping tabs. Sometimes I try to list all of them out, and it's like sometimes I've forgotten the publications where I've appeared. Try to show your repertoire. If you've been published before, it's always nice to put it there. All of that gives context to you. Remember, just important information, not what you ate yesterday, what you eat today, why you are the best. Why not important. Important information that gives context about the writer, because again, no writer is an island. So all those things give context about you. That is why it is important. So it's not just there for you to be writing story of your life. No, it's there for a reason. Why a biography? It's to give your readers context. Okay, who is this person that is writing this book? What wealth of knowledge are they drawing from while writing? So talking about wealth of knowledge, you can add what you like to do in your free time. This is like a fun detail. So you see some published well-known authors, after they write, oh, she's married with kids, they write, if she's not writing, she's probably watering her garden, you know, something fun and quirky like that, but it still gives background on you. So if there is a book where you are talking about flowers so much, people know, okay, it's because you actually keep a garden. You know what happens in a garden. If you like bird watching, that is context. Okay, so remember in one of the Let's Talk Storytelling video, I talked about bird watching. I made the example of the Mr. Bean episode where he went bird watching. So for a writer, you do bird watching, but in a different way. You do people watching. That's what I talked about in that video. I'm going to link it in the description so you can go watch it. So people watching, that's what you do as a writer. So you can add it there in your fun detail about you in your biography. When she's not writing, she bird watches or she people watches. That's fun. It's like, oh, nice, you know, people can go read up on that. So what is people watching? I've never heard that before. And then get context about you. Saying, me, what I like to write is she's in love with children, fashion. No, that's not how I put it. She's in love with children, eccentric, music, and fashion, because those again give context about me. So you would usually find that in most of my biographies. Sometimes I remove the children part because maybe yeah, maybe I've not had a good day that day with children around me. I just be like, remove the children part. But most times the children are there because I always be in love with children. And then I add the eccentric music, which is very true. I listen to the likes of Lana Del Rey, alternative music that many do not like to listen to mainstream. And then lastly, eccentric fashion, which is what I am. If you go to my Instagram, you see fashion content there because it is also part of who you are as a writer. Again, I made a video about how as a writer you have to have a social media presence. Let people know you for some things. So what are some things that people know me for on Instagram? I always post fashion content, I'll post lifestyle content, I'll post storytelling content. So these things encapsulated in your biography, they give context about who you are and about this work you have written. It's another way to speak to your readers. It's important to have all these 8 things ready as your tools for becoming a published writer in this year or next year, whenever you are ready to start. Remember that when you are ready to start is when you actually start. So if you want to push it off till next year, if you want to keep saying I don't have money to get yourself pictures that are professional, do you? If you want to keep saying, oh, I don't know, I want to be a writer like, you know, Chino Achebe or Chimamanda, and you've not been writing, you've not been practicing your craft, do you? Oh, I want to be a well-known person. You don't have biography that is simple, short, straight to the point, cover letters, all these things I've talked about. Do you remember there's a Nigerian saying that says anytime you wake up, that is your what? Your good morning. The Nigerians watching me understand that statement. Anytime you wake up, that is your good morning. Okay, that's how we say it. That's your morning. All right, so anytime you're ready, pick up these 8 tools that have been mentioned and deliberately explained and start your journey towards becoming a published author. Yeah, that is the video for today. I hope the sound was clear enough for you to get what I was saying, even though the visuals may not be that perfect. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, you're a gem. Keep living a gem's life, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.